What's up guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if this is your first time. I've already covered the Strefon Precon Vampire Bloodlines deck and my experience with it, and the reason why I'm doing these videos, which are not deck tech videos. I want to do deck discussion videos or experience videos, because sometimes just telling you what to take out and what to put in doesn't give you the experience of what actually happens. So I want to share with you my experience for the month of playing the two precons, and maybe that'll give you more insight as to upgrading the deck, playing with the deck, or playing against the deck. For me personally, playing the Millicent Relentless Revenant was a blast. I absolutely loved this deck, and went out and immediately bought cards to upgrade it with after playing it the first time. I fell in love with this deck so hard, but after playing it and upgrading it, it lost something, and that's what became very odd about the deck. I don't know if other people had this experience, but playing the deck as it was out of the box was way more fun than upgrading it. Don't know why. A lot of spirits are high cost, but they don't feel high cost. But definitely some type of chemistry when you upgrade the deck is removed, and it just throws off the deck in very weird ways. So as long as I played it with the precon with no changes, I was winning. It was interesting. I was winning because my opponents just could not stop the deck. They had to use all of their resources to board wipe the deck 2 to 3 times, because I was able to make more spirits. Even with Millicent dying and other non-token creatures dying, I was able to make more spirits, so that way they had to board wipe 2-3 times sometimes. Having cards in the deck that give spirits flash, which as a precon was amazing to see that spirits had built-in flash, so I didn't have to go out and buy Leyline of Anticipation or Vedelkin Ori. It already has cards that give spirits flash. Amazing. More precons need stuff like that. But I digress. Anyway, Millicent was just a fun joy to play. Being a 7-drop commander that you never cast for that 7 was just a joy. Having flying and a 4/4 made it a threat to my opponents, and they saw that as a threat the moment it hit the field. Him dealing damage, creating more spirits was amazing. I always had a board state, and when I lost my board state, I was able to get it right back. That's what made playing Millicent so fun. Playing Millicent doesn't feel like a white-blue deck. It really doesn't. It breaks that notion that this is supposed to be slow and it's supposed to be control-y, very stacks heavy. That's mostly what you think about after you've been playing Commander for a long time. White and blue is mostly associated with stacks, control, slow, restricting. But this felt like a green deck. This felt like I was playing Simic for a while, or Golgari, because it felt like I was playing these big creatures that were doing things. I was playing Flash. I was getting card draw. I was making tokens. Millicent reminds me of that elf. I'm gonna just go search for it because I can't remember the name of it. That Golgari elf that was very powerful. Yeah. Lathril, Blade of Elves. Very similar effect. When Lathril, Blade of the Elves, sorry, deals combat damage, create that many 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. So that effect right there was very similar to Millicent, where you're not creating that many creature tokens that are spirits, but you are creating creature tokens whenever a non-token spirit attacks and deals damage or dies. So it's like, wow, okay, you know, each non-token spirit, and there are some really good ones in this deck, like Dragskull Reinforcements, like, man, there are actually quite a few good spirits. The Dragskull Captain was great, giving spirits hexproof. Supreme Phantom giving them +1/+1. You know, like I said, there are a lot of good cards in this deck where you kind of just don't need to upgrade it. You kind of don't, but there are some good cards to upgrade. But anyway, the deck feels, oh, Lathril is right there in the Precon. But the deck just feels amazing. It feels like a big mana deck that just keeps getting bigger. Where my opponents had to board wipe 2 and 3 times to remove the threats because they were going to die to all the flying creatures. With all those spirits that give them +1/+1, and me adding in a few more later on, it just became this really fun, fast, hard-hitting deck that made me feel like I wasn't playing white-blue, which I thought was amazing. This deck was very well constructed, and I wish they had given the Vampire Precon a good strategy like they did this one. But getting into it, the only issues I found with the deck were honestly the upgrades, which is kind of very rare to say. So for the Precon, as you can see, there's you already have hexproof for your spirits. You already have, you know, pump cards that are adding attack and defense to your spirits and to your spirit tokens, because it does not say non-tokens, it just says spirit creatures. You have ways to give them flash, as I was saying before. You have card draw like Reconnaissance Mission and Distant Melody. You have win cons like Mirror Entity, which can make all your spirits huge. Haunted Library was a card that I kept getting in my opening hand every single turn, every single game, I mean, where it just added to my spirits on field. Windborn Muse and Ghostly Prison were keeping people from attacking me. Like, the Precon itself is just good. You even have Graveyard Recursion with Karmic Guide, which is also a spirit. There was very little room to upgrade this deck, to be honest, not gonna lie. The only problem with it was once you did upgrade it, you start to see that there's not really much you have room to upgrade with. Like, you already have the Angel of Flight Alabaster, so you have a way to get back spirits. The other cards that you can add just increase the mana curve for most of them because they're really good cards, but Guardian of Faith is definitely a card to add in if you have the money. Teferi's Protection, or Teferi's Protection, however you want to pronounce Teferi's name, or Teferi. Those are 2 cards to definitely add in. I like the Spirit Guardian version because it's a spirit. It has flash, it has vigilance. You can phase out target creatures. And then other things like Bygone Bishop just kind of didn't make sense in the deck. I saw, you see like that they're trying to give you more draw by adding in Investigate and Clue tokens. But to be honest, with cards like Reconnaissance Mission, or if you add in Bident of Thassa, you already have the card draw. The deck is really aggressive. It wants to attack. It has flying. If you add in cards like, Empyrean Eagle, you're already adding in more pump to your spirits and making them bigger and making it more aggressive. So you kind of don't need to do too much. Some of the cards that did hurt as far as upgrades were cards like the Drug Skulls. Drug Skull Reaver is a 7-drop spirit. Well, it's really powerful, and it's gone up in price in past time that this deck has come out. You have flying, double strike, lifelink, and whenever you gain life, draw a card. And then there was another card, another Drug Skull. I don't know if I passed it. Forgot what it was. There's another Drug Skull where, oh, there we go, Drug Skull Cavalry, where whenever another spirit enters the battlefield, you gain life. So you have this really good combo between the two. Whenever another spirit enters the battlefield, you gain life. Drug Skull Reaver allows you to draw cards. You don't really need to add in too much. You just need the mana ramp eventually. And that's where the deck becomes really awkward, because you want to add in more mana ramp to play these 2 7-drop creatures that give you really good upside and combo potential. And also cards like Oyubi, I cannot pronounce that card, which is another 7-drop spirit which came in the deck, which people said to take out, but honestly I left it in and I never saw it. I never saw this card once come to my hand, and I left it in on purpose to try to play it. There were just cards that just worked and did not work for me in specific, just for me. Drugstore Reaver and Cavalry, when they were on the field, they were huge threats, and people were automatically like, we have to board wipe. So, you know, you're going to be a threat with this deck no matter what. But that kind of made it fun. Sire of the Storm was another good card, but when you see that you're looking at these 4 cards right now, you see Sire of the Storm, which is a 6-drop. Whenever you cast a Spirit or Arcane, draw a card. The Who Split the Heavens Spirit is a 7-drop, and whenever you cast a Spirit, you create a 3/3 Spirit token with flying. Drugstore Reaver, whenever you gain life, draw a card. Whenever Drugstore Cavalry, whenever a Spirit enters the battlefield, gain life. You see like this engine that's like, this is really good. These are some really good creatures, but they're all like 6 and up. And don't fall into that idea of, oh man, these spirits are great and they're high cost. You don't really need them. Leave the deck as it is and just play it as it is. When I started to upgrade the deck, I started to run into mana issues for some strange reason. It felt like the spirit of the deck, no pun intended, was shaken. Like the deck has its own spirit. No pun intended. And it just has this synergy that's built in. It feels like whoever created this deck created it with care, and you feel the synergy in the deck. Like every card is there for a reason. Even if it doesn't seem like it works, it's there for a reason, and it actually does work. It adds to how the deck functions. And once you break that, it feels like it stopped working for me. That's it for me. From my experience, it stopped working to where I was like, I'm only getting 2 mana now. Before I was getting like 4 mana in my opening hands. I had to start mulliganing. How would you say that in plural? I had to start mulliganing more. Whereas when it was the way it was out the box, I didn't have to mulligan at all. But when I upgraded it, I had to start doing mulligans every game just to get a good hand. And it just felt off. And it made me just dismantle it. Because I was like, I lost something in this deck. I'm not having fun. It's not functioning. I'm not able to get out Millicent anymore. I'm focusing too much on other things. When I upgraded it, I was trying to focus on the Drugstore reinforcements and, you know, getting the pump with like Partition Geist and, you know, the Eagle and other cards to pump up my spirits, but I wasn't getting ways to just bring out my commander and be aggressive. It was more trying to set up this great big turn where I could just swing out and kill somebody, and I lost the focus of the deck, which was play spirits, be aggressive, have fun. For other people that I saw playing the deck, they just didn't enjoy it at all. Some people I found really enjoyed the vampires. It worked for them, and the spirits did not work for them at all. Some people had issues where they couldn't get card draw, they couldn't get spirits. There are certain spirits that are kind of iffy, like Spectral Arcanist. If you don't have an instance or sorcery in the graveyard, playing this card feels awkward because you want to play it because it's a spirit. It brings down the cost of your commander if it's in the command zone, but you also want to be able to cast that instance or sorcery that it's going to give you. If you have nothing in the graveyard, that's a problem. Oftentimes, even when I played, and I saw this from other people, you would have no graveyard because no one was attacking you, no one was killing you. It wasn't until people were able to get board wipes where you started to fill up a graveyard, but until then, you were a big threat and you just had board presence. Playing against the deck, I felt the same way where I was like, man, if I don't get a board wipe, I'm gonna die. But there was no way to hit that targeted removal because you do get the Drugstore Captain. It seems like everybody was getting Drugstore Captain fairly simple, or like within their opening hand or their first 2 draws. And once all their spirits or all your spirits get hexproof, it becomes this, okay, targeted removal is useless now, you know, and you're just looking at your hand like, okay, I can't use targeted removal. They have Rattle Chains, which is giving their spirits flash, And then there was another enchantment that gives spirits flash. So it's like, I can't do anything about their board, and so therefore you have no graveyard. So when you see creatures like Karmic Guide or the Alabaster, you're like, I don't want to play these cards. I want to play them, but you know, I have nothing in the graveyard for them to target, so I'm just gonna hold on to it. And that's where the deck starts to feel bad. It's like, it feels good because it's powerful, and as playing against it, it's a threat, and you're like, holy crap. But then at the same time, there's no interaction with your graveyard. So, you know, it's like you want to play these cards and you're holding them back because there's nothing to do with them, and you don't want to waste the effect because you might need it later. So it's an interesting mix with the deck. People playing it, I saw they were very frustrated because they usually opened up with these cards, and I talked to them afterward because I also had the Precon. They opened up with a lot of these cards like Karmic Guide and the Angel Alabaster and other things that targeted your graveyard, and they were like, I had no graveyard, I wasn't gonna play it. You know, I didn't have a spell, you know, to just like brainstorm. You know, brainstorm and other draw cards like instants and sorceries did not come in the deck. So if you don't have just a base draw card that just, you know, pay one, draw a card even, or like opt, you know, where you could just scry and draw a card, you don't have those cards in the deck built in. So if you didn't add them in, you're just sitting at an empty graveyard for most of the game, to be honest. So taking those cards, you want to take those cards out, but at the same time you want to leave them in for the situations where people do board wipe, or you do attack and someone has death touch, you know, or you're swinging in with you know, creatures that are 2/2s or 1/1 spirits that eventually get blocked and die. You want to hold on to those cards for that reason, but at the same time, you don't know when that's going to happen. And that's the only negative with the deck that I saw right out the box, was there was really no reason to target the graveyard. There really should have been draw cards in the instants and sorcery slots for Millicent, where you have Brainstorm or Serum Visions, you know, something just to play an instance of sorcery, draw a card or two, the card goes to the graveyard, and that's it. Like, it's weird to say that, but that's the truth. The other way of playing against the deck, I saw there really wasn't too much of a weakness. The hexproof and flash just make this deck so strong. It's ridiculous. It's great. It's honestly great because spirits are an amazing tribe, and I didn't know about spirits like this before this Precon. I just always ignored them. But this Precon opened my eyes to where I actually do like this tribe. Spirits are very powerful. They're very cool. They're a flying tribe that deals a lot of damage. But playing against them, I felt like I had no answers most of the time. Like, if I didn't have a board wipe, that was it. You know, or I would wait for someone, you know, you'd have to politic. And that person, even with me when I was playing the spirit deck, whoever was playing Millicent is the arch enemy. You know, like, once you see that deck in action, it's like, oh no, you know, like this cannot go on. We need to stop this guy. This guy is just getting out of hand. He's making spirits when dealing damage, playing more spirits, he's drawing cards. They have hexproof, they have flash. He's playing spirits on your opponent's turns and getting creatures back from the graveyard on your opponent's turns and building the board and playing his commander on your opponent's turns if you get rid of it. It's just this powerhouse deck that's amazing to watch, but scary to play against because it's right out the box. It's a threat. I definitely say the spirits are on par with the zombies from Midnight Hunt for just out the box. It works. And I think Millicent works at a high level. Definitely, I would say a power 8 or power 9. It's definitely up there out the box. It's just a really good build. That's the best way I can put it. So playing against it, I would definitely say board wipes. Board wipes, or I doubt it's in here, but cards like Shadow Spear, I don't think they have it in the list. There's a couple cards that remove hexproof and shroud, or make creatures with hexproof and shroud targetable. Playing against this deck, you definitely want those cards. Like I said, like Shadow Spear. There's another card, I think there's another card, I forgot what it's called off the top of my head. There's a couple artifacts that do it, where they just remove or allow you to target creatures that have hexproof or indestructible shroud, etc. You definitely want to have those cards, because this deck is going to get out of hand. And if they upgrade it even further, which I don't think anyone did in these builds, because I don't see the card I'm thinking of, but there is a card that absolutely just shuts down everybody that is a spirit. So if they add in that card, be very wary of this deck. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let me think of it. But I know it's next to me. It's on my table somewhere. There was a spirit that came out a long time ago that makes your opponents have to pay for artifacts, and that card is freaking ridiculous in this deck, because you don't really need the mana rocks for ramp. There it is. And I don't know why this card isn't even on these deck lists. So Kataki War's Wage is a legendary commander spirit. A legendary creature spirit, 2-drop, 2/1, that has all artifacts have at the beginning of your upkeep sacrifice this artifact unless you pay 1. This spirit in this deck, when I upgraded it, wow, everyone hated me, because everyone's using mana rocks. And they're like, I gotta pay to keep my mana rocks on the field, and he's getting pumped, and he has hexproof. It's like, so he just became this threat, and then I could flash him in on my opponent's turn, which was great. So I would flash him in on the next turn, and then I used a card like Guardian of Faith to phase him out when someone was gonna board wipe. So I would flash in Guardian of Faith, phase out the War's Wage spirit, and it just became this thing where everybody was like, I hate you, B. I hate you so much. I just wanted to share that story. But yeah, great card to add in. No one has it in their deck list. I don't know why. Maybe because people don't know about the creature. But this spirit is amazing. You want to have this card with your spirit deck. Any spirit deck, no matter what colors you're in, as long as you're playing white, play this spirit. Everyone will hate you if you're one of those types of people. But anyway, Millicent, like I said, was fun, and I think that's the most incredible thing about Millicent, is that it's fun out the box. The drag skulls are expensive. The high drop spirits that are like 6 and 7, they're very tempting, but don't fall for them, because if you open up with them in your hand, you're not going to have fun. You're really not. That happened to me a couple times where I didn't want to mulligan because I had the Drug Skull Reaver and the Cavalier in my opening hand, and I was like, ooh, you know, combo piece. But they're both 7 drops. They're not helping me. You know, that's not helping me. You want them later in the game, not in your opening hand. And that's just the thing. Don't fall for that. Don't fall for cards that just make spirits randomly, because that's not going to help you either. If you're not refilling your field for a specific reason, don't fall into a lot of the humans outside of the precon that just make you, you know, like, if, you know, when this human dies, make a spirit token. Don't fall for that. You know, add in the instants and sorceries that make you 3 or 4 different spirit tokens. because you can get those cards back and cast them again. It gives you a reason to play where is he? Spectral Arcanist. You know, when you have in those cards, or maybe you have cards that populate, add in the white cards that have populate on them. There are some cards that have all your creatures have indestructible, populate. All your creatures gain hexproof, populate. Or populate and draw as many cards as, you know, as many token creatures that you control. Add in cards like those, and it will feel so much better, because the more spirits that you have on the field, the faster you get out Millicent, the more spirits you make, the bigger the board you get, the more upside you have. And don't forget that. That's the main thing. Don't get lost in, oh, well, I can add in a whole bunch of cards that pump up my flying creatures, or flying tribal, or adding in that one angel that gives all flying creatures indestructible. I forgot her name. Because it just doesn't work. It really just doesn't work. You're going outside of the strategy, and stuff stops working when you start adding in too many outside ideas like Foretell. It's awesome. You're going to make more spirit tokens, but then you're focusing on Foretell because you're like, I want to Foretell stuff, but it's slowing down the strategy. This deck is very simple and very straightforward. Play spirits, attack people, make more spirits, attack people, draw cards. That's pretty much the deck. And when you keep it simple, that's when you start to see it really shine and flourish. Alright, that's enough for me. I think I've talked enough. I hope me sharing my experiences with and against the deck have been helpful. I hope it gave you some insight. Maybe you have a better experience than I did upgrading the deck. I definitely just preferred it the way it was. I might rebuild it. I might put it back. I might just add in some little things here and there, but overall, I really had fun with the deck, and I really thought it was an eye-opener in those colors. I don't really play those colors, so I never really had a good experience until playing Millicent, and after playing Millicent, I definitely want more. So in my tribal slot for my decks, I'm conflicted. I like human tribal that I've created recently, but I also like spirit tribal now, and I don't know what I want to fill that tribal slot for when I go out and play. I'm torn between the two now. So anyway, I hope that helped. I hope you got some really good insight from this, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.